Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before I start, I have to give a little bit brief about myself and the RTA. I've been working more than 34 years road and transportation work in Dubai. I supervised more than 100 billion dirham projects through my career, and it's my pleasure today to be with you. I would like, before I start, to thank the organizer for giving me the chance to speak at this summit. As everybody knows, in UAE, we shape the future. The government leads the transportation. It's a little bit different than any other countries. In different countries, normally the private sector, they lead the change in this organization system. But in UAE, the government is leading this change, and they are shaping the future. With the fourth industrial revolutions, new technology are evolving rapidly. And as everybody knows, for the last 10 years, the technology is changing very fast. And this is affecting, of course, the different mode of transportation and affecting also the urban planning of the cities. And since the transportation is mainly driven by two factors, it is driven by the urban planning, and also it's driven by technology. The two driven forces are affecting any decision which you will take in transportation system. And we expect, as transportation engineer, as a traffic engineer, as a road engineer, that the drastic change in this sector will be very fast compared to any other sector in the economy. This requires the government to address three important issues. We have to, as a government, we have to address three important issues. Number one is safety. Two is security. And third is privacy. It also required that we have to be a proactive development to prepare the infrastructure for this rapid change. If we don't prepare the right infrastructure for this rapid change, it will be a big problem facing the infrastructure for any city. Let me ask you 5 questions which any transport engineer should think of, or any person who lives in any city should think of for the future, because we are talking about the future. The first question, as everybody knows, that every country, most of the country, they have a single integrated control system for the mode of transport. Most of them, especially the big cities, they have one control system to actually manage the traffic and manage the transportation, different mode of transportation under one ceiling in one building. But imagine the question is that this will be managed by an artificial intelligence. So I have to underline the artificial intelligence, which will be able to operate this center, this command center. That's question number one. Question number two, can you imagine that you will be able to design your shared trip through a smart applications? And underline design. I know that so many applications available in the market where you can travel from one place to another place. I'm not talking about those type. I'm talking where you will have an application where you can only have one, you touch one button, and then you can yourself design your trip, a shared trip. The third question is, are you aware that there are some car manufacturers started peer-to-peer car sharing? And here, where we can ask ourselves that, can we, as a group, share one car at different time of the day? Question 4, have you thought of safety, security, and then I'll underline also privacy, when you will have drones or anything flying above residential areas. So we will lose some privacy. This is a big challenge. Question 5, can you imagine where you will have drones and robots? They can fly over the road network, and they can take pictures, and they can send those pictures to the maintenance department, to the road department, to the traffic department, to do the repair, necessary repair on time and online. That's another challenge. Of course, this will improve safety, divert traffic, and also it'll give customers alternative options. If you think of those 5 questions, I think they are challenging questions for the future. Now, I'm sure that all of you is reading the social media, and also hearing about the many futuristic trends and modes of transport, and thinking of the future. Now, we have to ask ourselves, we must ask ourselves why. Why do you think that these features actually evolving in this rapid speed? Why those or changing for the future? Why? I think there are many driven. It's the need. So what is the need? What do we need? We need to improve safety, because safety is very important. Number 2, reduce the travel time, because time is important also and affecting the economy. And third, and protect the environment. Everybody is talking about green economy nowadays. And that's why you will find most of the companies, most of the government departments, they are spending a lot of time and a lot of budget in research and developing globally in this field. Everybody is working around those 3 areas. Now, although we are very optimistic about these future trends, but we need to address 8 main concerns. And those 8 are, almost all of them are important, and we should not ignore any one of them. First of all, we notice that when there are so many companies, they are changing even their field. You will find a toy manufacturer working in airplane. You will find different manufacturers working in different fields, because everybody wants to make business. But I think human safety should not be left to trial and error. Should not be left to trial and error. Number 2, new modes must be based on R&D, specialized company. There are companies who are specialized in R&D. And we should also have adequate testing and certifications, and we should give them enough time, because they are linked with safety, with human being. Once an accident happens, it will affect everything. It will affect the culture of people, the behavior of peoples, and then you will not have a successful mode of transport, whatever. Even one accident is enough to make people scared of using this mode of transport. 4th, urban transportation planning must also adapt new modes of transport. 5th, more difficult to integrate. Always when you have aging infrastructures like those old cities in Europe, it is not easy to do the change, because they will need billions of dollars to change. I'd like to give you a small example now. If you looked at, we have driverless metro in Dubai, and it has been operating since 2009. Now, if you want to change the trains, the rail work in Europe, in some of the cities in Europe, I don't like to mention names, they need to spend billions of dollars in order to change the system, because it's not easy to change the technology in those rail work, or they need to spend a lot of budget. It's more also the zonal limitations, especially around airports. You have to have some limitations, so you have to do some design in such a way that you can have a successful mode around the airport, where also around the restricted areas. That's another challenge. Also, funding is another challenge. Finding the right or the enough funding of new transport modes and upgrading the existing ones, that's another challenge also. Selecting the modes that best suit the cities. Different countries, different cities need different type of modes according to the urban planning. And then I'll talk about this in detail later on. Now, the future shift of transportations. If you think of the future, there are 4 main common enabling factors. And normally, those are standard globally. First one is the suitable legislations. You have to find the right legislations for every different type of mode of transport. The infrastructure readiness. Every city have different infrastructures need, and also the existing infrastructure is different from other cities because the planning, the urban planning is different. Third, affordability. It's linked with the economy also. You'll find the cost of traveling is different from country, or mobility from country. The cost of mobility from country to country is different, and this cost has to be affordable to people because you are dealing with people. Fourth, commercially and technically viable. Also, the company will not, if it is not viable, and it will not be implemented. Nobody will participate in it from the private sectors. Now, I will talk about the mode and trends in details. I will start with the self-driving transport. For the last 25 years, most of the companies and private sector is working in this field. For the last 25 years, I believe that in the coming 5 to 10 years, I think it will deploy. It will be widely deployed, and it will require the following: this driverless car. It will require legislation and regulations. You must have readiness technology and sustainable infrastructure. And another thing is to do with culture. It have to have the people acceptance, because people are scared. I mean, different culture, you have different type of people. Some cities are international city, you'll have different cultures even. So even the background of educations, the driving behavior of people is different from cities to city. So all these are challenges, and there are some of them is culture challenge, and cultural challenge, to solve them you need a lot of awareness program. It's not easy. In the next 10 years, it's expected, I expect in the next 10 years that 50% of cars will have self-driving features and underline self-driving features. I'm not saying all will be 50% driverless, but I'm saying 50% of the cars in the coming 10 years, they will have self-driving features. Some private companies, of course, already invested more than $10 billion developing this technology. Secondly, I'll talk about the innovative modes. The Hyperloop, the aerial personal transport, the flying taxi, and others. In my opinion, it will take more than 10 to 15 years to develop those. We need to test and certify to ensure that they are safe and suitable for the human use. I know that maybe some company will be upset about what I'm saying, but this is fact. I'm talking from an experience point of view. Aerial personal transport will even take longer to enter the service. Why? Because if we are going to talk about today, in the future, maybe the aircraft legislation rules, they may change. I'm talking about today. As of today, we need 10 to 15 years. Because they are governed by the international regulations, and you cannot just play with those rules and regulations. Also, user safety should not be left to trial and error, as I said. It's not a trial and error situation where you say that I can try and error. There should be some different procedure to do that. Also, the manufactured, it has to be by specialized company. The infrastructure must be ready also. The third trend is shared mobility. And when you talk about shared mobility, you will find the shifting from private cars to shared services. In some country, research showed that 30% of those commuters will use the shared mobility in the next 10 years. These include ride sharing, e-hailing, and bike sharing. In addition, we must, it may be interesting to know that one car sharing will replace 9 to 13 private vehicles, according to studies. So one car sharing will replace 9 to 13 private vehicles. Imagine the effect on congestion, on traffic congestion on this. One of the major also shared mobility is risk to cars manufacturer. Of course, they will fight it because this will decrease the demand of private cars. Imagine when I say one will replace 9 to 13. So of course, the manufacturer will not like what I'm saying today. But private car manufacturer, they need to shift their focus. They need to shift their focus from market share to mobility share. So they need to change. You cannot do something as a government and the manufacturer doing something else. So I don't think this will have contradicting policies, and I don't think the economy will go right or will grow right. Now, I will talk about connectivity, which is very important in transportations. This is a very important word, connectivity. Connectivity, you know, when we talk about smart mobility solutions, connectivity play a big role for the future. Normally, future focus on vehicle to vehicle and vehicle to infrastructure connectivity. Also, we'll talk about road, be smart to detect, adapt, and change to detect the weather conditions. Also, the big data and the artificial intelligence, I talked before about this when I started when I started, I said some statements about the big data and artificial intelligence when I talked about the system and the command system. how important those are will also play a very important role. The road signs, and how maybe we don't need road signs in the future. It will be embedded in the car because you will have all those smart programs. You don't need, you have to push one button and then it will, as you are, so many of you now, if they are following those smart programs, they don't look at signs. So why do we spend billions of dirham in those traffic signs and information signs? Last but not least is the green sustainable transport. The number of electrical and hybrid vehicles increased rapidly. Also, many countries in Europe, like Norway, Germany, actually forbidden, and they issued regulation to limit the registration of traditional fuel cars. They already started. Modes using hydrogen fuel cell are also becoming, and they are increasing nowadays. We must also, don't forget, and we must talk about the roles of government. What is the role of the government in all this? Government play big roles. I think the future transportation trends and modes cannot be successful without having a strong commitment. And what? In involving the government at all levels. They should be involved. The government should play a big role. Why? Because the government should shape the future, should not just adapt new trends. They should be involved and they should be committed. The government should lead the transformation into the future through the following. They should set up the right strategy and targets from the beginning. Because when you talk about transportations and you talk about policy and strategy, different mode of strategy and different mode of transportation, they are actually connected together. They are linked together. You cannot have different policies without deciding the type of mode of transport you will use, the right infrastructure as explained before, the right planning, the right urban planning, so you can have the right land use. So all this is linked together. That's why when I said you have to have the right strategy and right targets. The second point is developing the required legislation framework. And the third point, you have to have the suitable infrastructure for the future modes. I'm talking about planning and the link of planning and land use with a different mode of transport, because different mode of transport requires different infrastructures and different regulations and different legislations, and all this is linked. Ensuring people awareness and acceptance, as I said before. You cannot, if people resist, you have to make sure that you have to have an awareness program which actually educate them. Fostering also partnership with the private sector. I'm not saying ignoring the private sector. Without the private sector, we cannot actually encourage the economy to be successful. Also, you need, last but not least, you need to enforce, not to have just the legislation without and the strategy without having enforcement. Enforcement is very important for operations, for safety, for security, and privacy. Without enforcement, you've done nothing. So now, in the coming 2-3 minutes, I will talk about the challenges which is facing the government. What are the challenges which are facing the government? There are 5 challenges. Challenge number 1, and they should come over those challenges. Challenge number 1 is the customization. As I explained before, local condition of land use is different from country to country. So you have to have this customizations, which is important because of the development of the future transportation system. The second point, understanding the impact of the future trends on the urban fabric, how it will affect the urban planning. And if you want an examples, whatever good for Paris may not be good for New York and Dubai because of the different planning. In Dubai you have high rise, New York you have high rise. The planning of Paris is different. Low building, maybe wide corridor, it's a little bit different. So you need to have the right infrastructure, the right moods for different cities. Ensuring that the new moods are based on solid research and has to be tested and experienced with specialized authorities. Fourth, we need to provide also, as I talked before, affordable pricing, because also this is affecting the economy. It's essential to support the economy of the city. Fifth, because just if I explain more about this, some countries, they don't want to spend too much in infrastructure. This is a policy thing. They don't want to spend too much money in infrastructures because they don't have too much money. What they do, they should have an affordable pricing for people to travel, and buses, and it has to be very cheap so people can travel in buses and maybe in different type of modes where you have the transportation system should be successful. It's more than having infrastructure with interchange, very expensive infrastructure. So it's a policy, it's an equation you have to balance between. Either you spend too much in the infrastructure and maybe you will spend less, or you have a combination of both. Those big decisions has to be done by the government. And at the same time, it's a challenge. Fifth, ensuring a smooth transportation from the current situation to the future expected modes and transports. You have to see what you have and how would you plan your future infrastructure ready for the future changes. Now, we should not forget also about the private sector. The private sector has a very important role to play in developing and deploying the future. One, we have to work closely with the government as a private sector with best suit the community needs. Two, to conduct robust research, perform adequate and sufficient testing and trials, for allow enough time for the government to do the testing and trials and issue the certification before you use those different modes of transport. Now I will talk about Dubai experience, what we have done in Dubai to overcome all those challenges and what we have done for the future transportation system. In Dubai government, the government is leading the change. RTA has set strategies to shape the future in transportations. We developed the self-driving strategy, and at least 25% of all trips in Dubai through self-driving transport by 2030. That is as set up by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid. Our strategy is the world's largest multi-modal self-driving strategy, as we are not only focusing on private car, but also we are focusing in 7 different public transport modes. We don't just focus on private or self-driving car. We are focusing on 7 different modes, and that's why we are different than other cities. Also, we are piloting several futuristic modes. We are piloting with a global, of course, firm, piloting the Hyperloop, the self-driving BRT, and the self-driving transport buds. In addition, we have this enterprise command control system, which will be different than any other control system in the world, which will be integrated, inshallah, in May by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, and it be a unique center in the Middle East. Of course, we will use the big data in this center, and we will analyze the travel patterns and passenger preferences to design our services accordingly. This will be one of the unique centers worldwide. We also will have soon, maybe in October, we'll announce we'll launch Dubai Integrated Mobility Platform. It'll be also the first in the Middle East. And maybe, I will not say in Asia because it exists maybe some in other countries, but in the Middle East, I'm sure we'll be number one. In October, we'll announce this platform, Dubai Integrated Mobility Platform. By the way, since yesterday, we started this trial, but we have a sample of 1,000 people using it. So we have to do this. We selected 1,000 people from Dubai to use this platform, and we are trying now. Till October, we'll announce about this platform. We started the trial period. RTA also recently approved RTA digital strategy on innovation technology solutions. Now, we already started our transformation, and this is since 2009. And then I'll give you some examples. The Dubai Metro is fully driverless mode of transport, and it is carrying nowadays 650,000 passengers per day. 650,000 for a small city like Dubai. I think it's a big number if you compare it with the population. Second, self-driving shuttles. We have already it has been tried in downtown and JBR. We already tried this also. I would like to share with you this video, and then I will continue.
Shaping the future is no new concept to Dubai. We are the RTA, revolutionizing Dubai's transportation sector. For a city moving today, a people shaping tomorrow. Our goal, 25% driverless transportation by 2030. How will we get there? Can a brighter future for everyone be driven by no one? Introducing the new EZ10. Part of our plan to test driverless transit technology, an electric shuttle dedicated to smart mobility. Designed to take people from transportation to final destination. Covering short distances with a long-term vision. Predefined routes with no precedence. Not a prototype, a reality. Technology isn't for the advancement of machines, it's for the progression of people. Moving people in one direction, into the future. the Roads and Transport Authority.
We started testing hybrid taxis in 2009. We have now around 750 hybrid taxi, around 7.5% of the fleet. We have about 11,000 taxis in Dubai, so it's 7.5% of that fleet is hybrid. Also, we signed recently at the government summit with Tesla to provide 200 electric airport limo, and this will be for the coming years. Since 2009, we are using the NOL card, the Unified Fare Collection System for transportation, all mode of transportation. And now we are adding to this NOL card also, we are using it for Dubai Parks. We will use it for Expo and also for buying groceries and others. So we'll have one card in Dubai it's already now for all mode of transport, and will be used for parks, as I said, and also at the same time will be used for Expo and other buying from groceries maybe in the futures. We have also implemented a number of smart solutions, such as smart car rentals, smart bus shelters, smart yard testing, and this is for new drivers. Even for drivers now in Dubai, we are trying to use the smart yard testing, and we are #1 in the Middle East now. For new drivers, you don't have to take a car and go drive for testing. You will have something simulated within a yard, and you can maybe try that. And we are already trying this in the licensing agency in the RTA. We currently have 173 smart services, reducing number of customers visit by more than 50% for the last 2 years. So 50% of our RTA customers, they don't come to RTA. There are many benefits expected from the futuristic transportation modes and trends. In Dubai, we aim to achieve benefit by 2030. Those benefits are follows. There will be a reduction of 12% in the carbon footprint. 12% will be a reduction in carbon footprint. There will be improved transport safety by 12%. Also, approximately 45% decrease in cost of mobility. And I'm 100% sure about those numbers are very accurate, which I'm giving you now. This is the benefits which we are getting. New transport modes and trends can reduce the requirement for parking, of course, so we can leave the spaces for public spaces because of all different policies and legislations which we are implementing actually. Following the vision of our leaders, also we aim to be a global pioneer in transforming our transportation systems. I would like to emphasize that the government role here in leading future. The recent initiative which has been announced by Dubai government is the 10X. 10X initiative launched by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid. This will be a major drive in introducing the additional innovative and disruptive transport modes and technology. This will be the fuel for us for the future in order to be ahead of so many other cities. And those people who don't know what I mean by 10X is 10X in summary, that Dubai has to be 10 years ahead of any other cities and different systems, of course, because we are responsible for transportation. So in transportation, We have to be ahead by also bringing initiatives, projects, which will be leading globally. I would like to finish my speech by words from His Highness Sheikh Mohammed اللي يقول فيها انتقلنا من مرحلة استشراف المستقبل إلى صناعته. We moved from predicting the future to sharing it. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. شكرا جزيلا.